Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and in this video we are going to talk about assignments, we're going to talk about the grade book, and we're going to talk about how to give feedback to students on assignments that they've submitted. Now for this video, I'm going to look at that almost built course that we talked about a couple of videos ago, because I have quite a few different kinds of assignments that are already in here, and I can show you some of the things you can do with assignments. And I have some feedback that I need to give to a student and some grading to do. So this is going to give you a much better, clearer picture of assignments and how they can be used. So let's go into the assignments tab itself so we can take a look at what we have going on here. Now in this class, I have one assignment group. That assignment group is not weighted, meaning it doesn't have any specific category weights. If I wanted to create separate groups that are weighted differently, for example, if you have a course that has quizzes, assignments, labs, and let's say participation, and participation was 10% and quizzes was 40% and labs are 30% and assignments are 20%, right? Let's say that's how you wanted to break it down. Well, to make that happen in Canvas, you need to come over here to this 3-dot menu and you go to Assignment Groups Weight. And we can click this Weight Final Grade based on Assignment Groups button. And I can set my assignment group to be, well, let's say we said assignments was 20%, right? So I'll make that 20%. Now that is 20% of the total. The problem is that's the only assignment group that I have. So I'll need to create new assignment groups for the others. So we said participation, and that is going to be 10% of the grade. And let's say this Web Dev Careers quiz is going to be a participation assignment. So now that quiz itself is going to be 10% of my total grade of this class, whereas the rest of this together is only 20%, right? So that's how group weighting goes. So we can add more. Labs, 30%. And we can put some assignments into the labs category, so on and so forth. You want to make sure that all of this totals 100%, obviously. Right now we're only at 60%, so I'd need one more group, which I think I said was quizzes. And that is 40%. So now I have 20%, 10%, 30%, 40%. So now I would organize these assignments into the groups that they belong in. So if it was a lab, it'd be in labs. If it was quizzes, it'd be in a quiz, all that stuff, right? So that's how you organize your assignments in terms of what group they belong to. So let's take a look at an assignment, just an example of an assignment that we have here. I'm going to click on Build a Computer. This is the first assignment in this class. Students will have just interacted with a lesson that teaches them about all the different parts of a computer. And I'm asking them to go to a website called pcpartpicker.com and click Builder. I probably should have a link in there for them. Let's go ahead and do that now. So to create a link, I'm just going to highlight that section there. I'm going to click External Link. I will find the website I want them to go to. And then I will copy that URL and paste it in. So now that is a link. Let's go ahead and save that. So go to PC Part Picker. There we go. And click Builder, Builder, and then create basically build a computer that can play your favorite game or recent video game if you don't have a favorite. So I'd have to look up my favorite video game and I'd have to look at what the specs are. And then I have to build that computer here in this website. When I'm done, I want to submit a link, that link right above the compatibility bar. So I would Control-C, copy that, and then submit it here. And I can see that it is aligned to the state standard for hardware and the state standard for critical thinking. So it's a 10-point assignment. If they get the hardware part of this assignment right, meaning they picked the right parts, or at least they understood what each part was doing, then they get the 5 points there. If I can see they were thinking critically about the parts they chose instead of just randomly picking parts, then they get 5 points as well. So that's one type of assignment. Let's take a look at some others. Oh, cancel. Let's go back to assignments. Binary game. Here's one where they have to go to a website, which I did include the link this time. They have to play the game, and then they have to take a screenshot of their results whenever they're done, right? And I put a challenge to them to beat my high score. And they would upload it as an image. Again, there's a rubric. We're checking binary, and we're checking persistence. Are they going to make mistakes, understand those mistakes are valuable, and continue moving forward? Because this game is very frustrating. So persistence is the state standard that they're being checked on there. Now, let's take a look at how to build an assignment. So in this rich text editor, I can add all kinds of things. I can add pictures, I can add links, I can add media. We're going to have a video that goes over all of that stuff more extensively soon. But I have a lot of options available to me to give them instructions so they know exactly what to do. Under points, I can give them the amount of points that it's worth. You want to make sure that this always matches up with the amount of points on your rubric. So for me, all of my state standards are worth 5 points for each assignment. So if the assignment is checking 2 state standards, then it's going to be a 10-point assignment. I can change the assignment group here. Remember, we just created these groups. So if I wanted this to be a lab instead, I can make it a lab assignment. I can display the grade as points, percentages, complete or incomplete, a letter grade, GPA scale, or not graded. I always keep mine to points, and most people do. So you can change that up if you want, but kids may get confused. I can drop this assignment from their final grade if I want to. Submission types. This is a really important option here. This is going to indicate how you want students to turn in this work when they are done. No submission means that they do not turn it in on Canvas. This would be for assignments that you give out as paperwork in class. They come to class, you hand them a worksheet, they fill out the worksheet, hand it back in. That is a no submission type. You're probably thinking, why would I want to put that on Canvas as a graded assignment if they don't even go to Canvas to do the assignment? Here's why. Let's say that student isn't in class that day and they need to get that worksheet. Well, they can come ask you and you can give them a copy if you have copies. If you don't, you'll have to go make a photocopy. It's a whole thing. Or they can download that assignment or download that worksheet, print it off at home. Or if they don't have access to a printer, you can create a digital version of that worksheet in Canvas that they could fill out and turn in on Canvas. So you can change it to something else. If you want it no submission, then they can just download that thing and then print it, bring it to you, you fill it out, and then get a grade. Now, I recommend that any graded assignment that you give in class should be on Canvas. That is a standard that is set by UMA. If it's a graded assignment that is given in class, they have to have the ability to access that assignment in Canvas. What some teachers don't do, however, is they don't go into the grade book and put in the grade for that assignment, even if it was handed in on paper. That causes a ton of confusion for students, and they don't know what their grade actually is because they're looking at a bunch of assignments that they have turned in, but they're listed as missing in Canvas, and they shouldn't be. So if you're using no submission, feel free to do that. Just make sure you go in and put in the grades after you grade those papers. Go in and put in the grade on Canvas. We have online. Online has several options. Text entry will give them a text box they can type their answer into. Website URL will allow them to copy and paste a website URL. So if they do an assignment like the previous one we looked at where they had to go to PC Part Picker and copy this URL, they can put that in the website URL submission. Media recording will allow them to either upload a media recording or record themselves doing something. If you're teaching a class that requires them to speak or do sign language or something like that, they can record that video using their webcam and upload that. Student annotation. Student annotation is kind of a tough one. Let's say you're in English class you're an English teacher, and you have an essay that you want them to proofread. You can upload that essay here, and then the student will have to go into, they'll basically get what looks like SpeedGrader to them. And they'll have all these annotation tools where they can highlight phrases, they can draw arrows, they can make comments. You can create an assignment where they actually annotate other papers that have been written and look for errors. So that's what student annotation is. And then file uploads. This is where they will have to create something and then upload a file. For this assignment specifically, I only want file uploads because they're taking a picture, a screenshot of a website, and they're uploading the picture. So I can restrict the file upload types here. I can say I only want PNGs or JPEGs or whatever. I'm going to leave it open. We can set unlimited or limited amounts of attempts. By default, it's unlimited. But if you want students to only be able to try this once or twice or 3 times or whatever, you can set a limit for number of attempts. You can create group assignments. Now for group assignments, you can assign grades to each student individually, or you can have it be a complete group. The whole group gets the same grade, basically. You can create a group set. So I have a couple of group assignments in this class so far. You can choose one of those group sets, or you can create a new group category, give the group category a name. You can either allow them to sign up by themselves, or you can have Canvas create the groups randomly. You can say, I want to split students by the number of groups, or I want a number of students per group. So there's a lot of control over these assignments here. So group assignments are really easy to do in Canvas. Then we have peer reviews. Peer review means students will turn in their first draft of this assignment, and then as part of their grade, they have to review another student's assignment. So this would be for like research papers or really anything. You can manually assign peer reviews to students, or you can have it automatically assign peer reviews. So they get one as soon as they turn in theirs. You can have the peer reviews come up anonymously, so they don't know whose work they're looking at. And the other person doesn't know who wrote the comments. So peer review is fantastic. This button right here will allow you to sync this assignment to Aspire if you have that sync set up. Now, if you're here looking for instructions on how to set up the sync between Aspire and Canvas, you won't find them in this video, and I may not cover them in this series. I don't know. We'll see. I don't personally use the sync to Aspire because there are too many issues that come up with it, and I think that it kind of takes control away from me as the instructor to make sure that the grade book is accurate. So I don't ever sync anything to Aspire, but if you're looking for that, there are instructions on how to do that elsewhere. Down here in the assignment options, we have this option to assign to everyone. Everyone is the group that exists right now for this course. There are no other sections that we can assign to. We're going to talk about this in more detail in just a minute, but first let's talk about due date. This assignment is set to be due August 30th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. You can change the due date by clicking on this calendar and finding the date that you want it due. I always make my assignments due by midnight, the night that they're given in class. That way kids can do it in class, but if they don't get it finished, they can do it before midnight that night, before it becomes a missing assignment. You can also set available from and until dates, meaning that this assignment will only be available to students between certain dates. Now, this is going to get you into some trouble if you have students with IEPs that have extended time. All right, so I'm going to show you how to use this feature while also giving extended time to those students who need it. To do this, we're going to actually get out of this assignment here, and we need to go to settings. We need to talk about sections. Now, in your Canvas courses that are built by Aspire, you're going to have a section for each class period you teach. You'll have A1, B2, whatever. You can create your own custom sections, and you can add kids to that section even if they belong in other sections. So if I had 3 kids among all of my classes that needed extended time on their assignments, right? What I can do is I can create an ET section, add the students that I want to that ET section. And then when I go back to the assignment itself, it was the binary game assignment. Let's edit. Down here, I can say add, and I'm going to add to ET different due dates. So maybe this will be available from, let's say, August 29th until August 31st for those students. But for my extended time students, let's say it's available from August 29th, but these kids get 3 extra days for their assignment. So instead of being due on August 30th, it'll be due on September 1st, and it'll be available until September 2nd. So that way you're still meeting that extended time for your students, but you don't have to change anything about the assignment itself. Now, for specific assignments where you want to differentiate and give them completely different questions or different rules or sets or things they have to accomplish, for that you would create a completely separate assignment, and you would assign that assignment specifically to that group, and you would have to assign the original assignment to everybody else. So anyway, so that's one way to differentiate, especially if they have extended time. All right. So that is an assignment. Let's talk about the grade book itself. So we have assignments. Students should be completing their work, turning in their work. Let's take a look at the grade book. So now when I look at the grade book, I have one student. I have the test student. This is basically me going in and putting in, taking quizzes and doing assignments and whatnot. So there are a lot of different colors here. I just want to talk about what these colors mean. First, the white is any assignments that were turned in on time, or assignments that haven't been turned in yet, but they're not due yet. Okay. Blue are going to be assignments that were turned in late. Red are missing assignments. Green are assignments that have been resubmitted and are waiting for you to grade them. Yellow are excused assignments. And orange, let me see, I think statuses. Yeah, orange is dropped. And we can edit these. You can change those if you want, but I like these categories. They're fine. We can come up here and we can export our gradebook or import gradebook. We can sync it to our SIS right there. We can arrange this by, I always like to do due date, oldest to newest, so that it gets a nice flow. So I can see that these are the older assignments here to the later assignments back here. We can filter by certain things. I'm going to filter just by assignment groups. If I only want to look at, let's say, assignments, or if I only want to look at quizzes, or if I only want to look at participation, right? I can filter it through that. I can filter it by modules. So I can look at, I only want to look at Unit 1, Lesson 4, Artificial Intelligence, which gives me my artificial intelligence quiz and an assignment called The Future of Work. So I can organize it that way. I can organize it by sections. So I only see maybe my first period class or my second period class or whatever I'd like. I can organize it by groups as well. So I can look at my different assignment groups for the group assignments that I've created. I can also show, I can uncheck unpublished assignments, which means any assignment that's not published yet won't show up in here, or I can show them. It's up to me. Before I move on from this part, let's talk about the actual cumulative grade. So over here, I can see that each category has a specific grade percentage. So if I have assignments, participation, labs, and quizzes, and it shows me the weights there. It shows me that he has 44% in the assignments grade or a category. The total, meaning the cumulative score, is going to have this little exclamation point, meaning it can't accurately tell me what the grade is right now? Because some of the grade categories or some of the assignment groups don't have any submissions yet. But it's still an accurate grade. He still has a 44%. In the settings menu over here, I can automatically apply grades for missing submissions. So I can say 0% as long as an assignment is missing. As soon as it turns into a missing assignment, it automatically populates a 0 in the grade book for that assignment. I can also create a late policy that deducts certain points or certain percentages of points from an assignment based on how late it is. So I can say I want to have a 10% deduction every day, right? With the lowest possible grade of 50%. So you can go, if it's 4 days late, you get a 40% reduction in your total grade for that assignment. But if it's past 5 days, turn it in, you can only get half credit, right? So I can set up those rules here. So that is this grade book. But let's take a look at the Mastery grade book. This is going to look at my outcomes specifically and determine whether or not the student has mastered specific outcomes. So, for example, I have Strand 2, Standard 1, Hardware. He has not mastered it because he got a 1.37 on this assignment. But over here, he has mastered it because he got 3.02 for the Impacts of Computing assignment. I can see I have some other standards back here that he hasn't mastered, but I can quickly come in here and take a look and see how close is this student to mastering the work that I'm assigning or mastering the standards that I've set out for them at the state level, right? So that's your Mastery gradebook. Perfect. Let's talk about giving feedback to students. So we can see I have an assignment here, build a computer, and I can see that it doesn't have a grade. It has this little paper icon. So to grade this assignment, I would click on that paper icon and click the little arrow that pops out next to it. I can give him a grade, but I haven't reviewed the work yet. So there's no way for me to know what score that student got. But if I do have, like, let's say a piece of paper in front of me, maybe it was an on-paper assignment, I can just come in here and enter the grade. So that's easy to do. But I need to review the work. So I'm going to click this arrow, which brings over this panel. I can see that the student says, I think I did okay, not sure though. Okay, so the student's given me some feedback about the assignment. They seem a bit shaky about it. Okay, let's actually take a look at their submission. So to do that, I'm going to click Speed Grader. And the Speed Grader is going to pull up basically the assignment itself. Now, because this was a link to another website, it's trying to show me that website, but it's not doing super well. It's not actually working. So I can just click View in a new tab and it pulls up their submission. And so this is the computer that student is building. I see they have a motherboard, they have memory, storage, video card, case, power supply. Problem is, though, they're missing some critical components that you need for a computer to work. Like, for example, a CPU. They don't have a CPU at all. So I can come over here, I can click View Rubric. Let me slide this over a bit. And I can say for hardware, they didn't meet expectations. They missed a critical component. So I'm going to say they get a 2, and they need to go back and redo that standard. For critical thinking, I don't see that they really, let's give them a 0 because it didn't seem like they actually paid attention to what they were grabbing. They just grabbed the first things on the list. So I can click Save, and they get a 2 out of 10 on that assignment. And then I can tell them, you did not include a CPU. Now notice, as I was typing, something popped up over here. This is your comment library. So I have a couple of pieces of feedback that I give quite frequently. And so I created a comment library. You can create a comment library just by writing a comment and then adding it to your library. If you find yourself giving the same feedback over and over again, I recommend creating a comment library. So this one says, you did not include anything I've asked for in this project. Please review the rubric and assignment description and try again. This is amazing. You should be proud of your hard work. Great job. I cannot open this project for some reason. Please resubmit. So these are a couple of things that I often run into. So I'll say you did not include a CPU and your choices seem, I don't know, poopy. And then I can submit that comment to that student. Now notice down here, I have a button labeled reassign assignment. That means I can click reassign and that student then has to do that assignment again. It shows up as a reassigned assignment for that student. By the way, in terms of feedback, I can also give media feedback. I can record media, upload media, and I can record some feedback for them as an audio clip. So I can say, please, oh, it's doing speech to text. Oh, this is fantastic. So if I don't want to type it out, I can use speech to text to create feedback. All right, cool. So that is basically those are the basics of giving feedback. Let's take a look at what that looks like now in the gradebook and what that looks like for that student. So I've reassigned it. Perfect. But if I go in here as a student, let me go back to the course itself. And I go to my student view. That student is patiently waiting for feedback on that assignment. I'll go to grades. I can see that I have some feedback here. I think your choices were poopy. And I can see the rubric. Okay. Perfect. Now, the reassign would be if, let's say, I set a certain number of attempts and they can only attempt it a certain amount of times and it has to be reassigned for them to attempt it, then that would come into play. So they can go back here to build a computer, resubmit assignment, and then redo their work and submit their work. So essentially that is providing feedback, using the gradebook, creating assignments. That is going to be the core of what you're doing with students day to day, giving them things to complete on Canvas and quizzes to do, assignments to complete, and then you are going to be giving them feedback in Canvas so that they can improve or resubmit, those kinds of things. So again, this was another long video. I try not to make videos this long, but these are really complicated subjects and I want to make sure we talk about them in detail. So I'll try not to make too many of these long videos, but if you have any questions, please let me know.